welcome back to Gaming with Pun. First off, thanks to everyone that's subscribed to the channel, everyone that's viewed my videos over the last couple weeks. Really appreciate it. Today's video is going to be a summary of Barbarian Sentinel DPS and how I run my character when I'm doing things other than tanking. There's a lot of things that you can do to squeak out some more damage when you're doing your daily questing and MEs, WEs, FEs, all that kind of stuff. So we're just going to give a brief overview of how I run my character when I'm doing those kinds of things. So just to get right into it, ability scores of course are not going to change. One thing really quickly, if you're somebody that likes to have a lot of different loadouts and can set up different things for your character, change your ability scores, change your boons, all that kind of stuff per different loadouts, that's of course perfectly fine. I personally do not like switching my enchantments and everything around, so I don't have a lot of different loadouts for things like that. I personally find that the system for changing out your enchantments and everything is kind of cumbersome and annoying, so I don't really like to do it. But there are a lot of alternative things that you can do to squeak out more damage as your Barbarian Sentinel Tank that I just don't do or don't feel the need to do. So again, ability scores, I leave mine with the strength and con, don't make any changes there. Looking at the gear, I also don't really change out any of my gear. Alternatively, there's a lot of things that you could switch around to squeak out more power and more damage. You could switch your neck, waist, and artifact set, of course, to the Demogorgon set. Switch your enchantments over for that. Change your... Well, I could change my defensive ring to an offensive ring. Give me 2 more offensive slots, squeak out some more power there. Change out a couple of my artifacts to equip artifacts that were more power centric. So like I could switch out my Trobrians, well, not the Trobrians or the Staff of Flowers. We could switch out our erratic drift globe for something like the Sigil of the Barbarian or the Lantern, anything like that with more power on it that you would get more use out of in a situation where you were just looking to do more damage. Otherwise, everything on my gear stays the same. I don't really switch anything out for doing my daily grinding stuff. Taking a look at our mounts, of course we would switch our Stalwart over to the Dominant Force for the power. Nothing else really changes. If you wanted to change out some of your insignias to power insignias, you could do that, but I just don't find that it's necessary. Taking a look at our companions, of course the only thing that we could do here would be switch out our defensive accessories for offensive ones to give us offensive slots to equip more empowered runestones for more power. With your equipped companions, of course, you can switch these out for power companions like the Baby Deep Crow and Minstrel, things like that. They're just going to give you more power. I also typically don't do that. I don't find that I really need it myself. As you can see, I've got 116k power and am capped on armor pen and everything as it is already, so when I'm doing my daily stuff, I don't really switch a lot of these things around, but you know, you could do these things if you were not a DPS tank build like myself. If you were just a car tank that didn't really do a lot of damage, you'd be able to switch a lot of these things around to squeak out a lot more power for doing your daily grind stuff. Of course, boons, nothing really changes in here either. We already take all the power, and we're already capped on things like armor pin, so there's no need to switch our defensive stats that we have selected in our boons to the offensive ones. Of course, again, if you're somebody that needed to make that switch and you had different loadouts that you can you know, just swap between really quickly, then that's perfectly fine, up to you. The main thing that I switch whenever I am doing my daily grinding is my powers. So our at-wills won't change. Sure Strike and Challenger Slash are what we will use. Challenger Slash is what we use primarily for our area damage, groups of mobs, and then once we get down to 1 or 2 mobs left with just a little bit of HP, we switch over to our single target Sure Strike that just does a little bit more damage, finish things off a little bit quickly. Class features is the main thing that we switch. So we would switch our Challenger's Charge out for Steady Rage. Steady Rage will generate rage over time while you're in combat, and this allows you to go in and out of your Unstoppable more often and do more damage and attack faster with your at-wills. Excuse me. And then we would switch out our Threatening Presence for Trample the Fallen. Trample the Fallen, whenever you use a power with a control effect, your damage is increased by 5% for 10 seconds, deal an additional 10% damage to controlled enemies. So not only is our damage increased by 5% for 10 seconds, you also deal an additional 10% damage to controlled enemies. So our Punisher's Charge has a stun effect for 3 seconds, so anyone that we hit with our Punishing Charge activates our Trample the Fallen to give us the 5% more damage, and because that target is now controlled, that gives us an additional 10% damage against that target for a total of 15% more damage against that target. Now here we would switch out our Come and Get It for Not So Fast. Not So Fast deals physical damage to nearby enemies. Magnitude is 180, which is, you know, fairly low, but this still does a decent piece of damage to mobs and, you know, MEs, WEs, FEs. The added effect is a slow for 6 seconds. So this also activates our Trample the Fallen and also activates the control effect damage buff against enemies that you hit with it. So this is a really good area of effect. This is going to apply your Trample the Fallen damage buff to every enemy that you hit with it. And then we still keep our Indomitable Battle Rage. Daily powers don't change. And again, I don't change any of my artifacts or anything for doing my daily stuff. Again, you know, that's something that's completely up to you. If you have those loadouts, you know, there's tons of stuff that you could switch over just to give yourself a little bit more damage. You know, you can switch your chest out for the Furied Kunos, switch your neck belt artifact to the Demogorgon, you know, switch your defensive ring to offensive ring, and all these little things here and there that you can do to squeak out some more power. But again, 116k power, overcapped on armor pen, so I don't really feel the need to do any of that. So we're just going to really quickly go from here into a combat zone and just kind of give y'all a quick demonstration of how this all works. So let's go here real quick. Just going to do a quick rundown on how the rotation works and let y'all see the damage that I'm able to put out in this form, so to speak. So we're going to jump in with our Challenger's Charge and start hitting with our Challenger Slash. And we'll hit with Not So Fast, and of course we already killed everything. Find some more enemies real quick. There we go. And of course, as soon as we use our Challenger's Charge, that applies our Trample the Fallen. And then as soon as we use our Not So Fast, that applies our debuff to all the enemies that are hit with it. So for the most part, we're putting out an additional 15% damage to most enemies that we're in combat with pretty much all the time. And give a couple more examples here, and then we'll wrap this video up. Not trying to drag it out real long today, just wanted to showcase how I run my tank whenever I'm not actually tanking. So here we go, Challenger's Charge, Not So Fast, Dominable Battle Strike, and then the last two targets we switch to our Sure Strike, finish them off a little bit quicker, and done and done. So you can see, as a Barbarian Sentinel, even without switching a lot of gear around or switching a lot of boons or anything like that, you can still do pretty decent amount of damage, plenty enough to do anything that you need to do daily wise without any issues whatsoever. And honestly, even without running this exact setup and running my tank setup with the stats that I have, sadly, a lot of times in random queues, I still finish, first or second on the damage board. Which, that's largely because whoever the people that have signed up for that random queue just aren't well geared or don't know how to play their characters that well, or whatever the case may be. But Barbarian Sentinel is definitely a viable character for doing whatever you need to do tank wise in game, and for doing whatever you need to do in your daily grind damage wise. Lots of options available. Like I said, if you're one of those people that likes to run multiple loadouts and don't mind switching your enchantments and things like that around, there's lots of options available for things that you can do, especially within your companions and mounts, things like that. So that's going to do it for this video. Like I said, didn't want to drag it out real long, just wanted to showcase kind of how I run my Barbarian when I'm not tanking. I do not DPS anymore, so even when I'm not tanking, I still stay as a Barbarian Sentinel, and I just use this setup and change something here or there just to suit my needs for whatever I'm doing at the time. But thanks everybody for watching. Feel free to leave a like, drop a comment if there's any questions you might have. Otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next video. Thanks. Have a great day.